Hi. Today I wanted to kind of do a quick recap of how to um, take your data and turn your data into like a spreadsheet, okay, and what to do with that spreadsheet. So how to make a histogram, how to kind of play with that for a little bit, and then also look at your summary statistics, okay, so your 5-number summary, which is like your max to your min, right, your quartiles in between and your median, as well your IQR, and then also your mean and your standard deviations. How do we do that? Okay, how do we make that work? All right, let's take a look at what we did today. Okay, today in class we did how many classes you're taking this school year. Okay, and I had a bunch of options for students to do. How many AP classes you've taken at Serrano, so past and present. And then also how tall you are with your feet and inches combined all into inches, okay? So looking at that, that gave us this data right here, okay? This column is column C. I hid the names and stuff, but this is column C. This is cell 1, so C1, C2, C3, all the way down to C25. This would be D1, all the way down to D25, E, that'd be cell E1, all the way down to cell E25, okay? So let's start by making a histogram, okay? A few ways you can do it. I'm just going to click the top box here, and that is going to highlight everything. Now, even though there's a bunch of blank spaces, it's fine. We're just going to highlight that and go to Insert. We are going to click Chart, and then that's going to give us some options, okay? So here's the table, and you can see we can move it around. We'll just put it right here for now. I'm going to go to the right side where it says Chart Editor, and there's a few things you can do. Let's start by looking at the chart type. This is a scatter chart, which has its uses, but we don't want to use that, okay? The website, the spreadsheet tries to think what you might want to do. So we're going to actually do histogram. That's right next to it. Even gives you a little preview. So here's our histogram, and it's got the proper range. It says C1 to C25, and then one thing to check is the use row 1 as the headers. So that means look at row 1, and that's going to be like your title. So if I change this title, we'll change that title right there. Okay. But I'm gonna look at the scale on the bottom. It says it's 4.7 to 5.4. This is like your bucket or your bin size. Okay, the book and the notes said bin. The word I like to use, I've been using is bucket, and you'll see also with Google they use bucket also. So if you go to customize, we can change that bucket size. So right now it's defaulted to be auto, like it looks at the data and thinks this is what I might do. If we were using the TI-84 calculators, they do something similar. We are going to, I want you to get comfortable with actually changing that number. So they have these defaulted 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50. Then you can actually type in any ones you want. So let's start with 1. That's not too bad. Let's look at 2. That's not enough boxes. What about like 1.5? That's not too bad, but let's look at 1. 1 seems to be the best. Okay. Yeah, we're going to keep it just like that. Looks pretty good. There's probably other ways to make it look a little better and different with colors and have fun with it, but we'll leave it like that. Makes sense. So this bucket, this says students that have 4 classes. If you look at it, you can click on it. Let me close the editor. I usually highlight over it. There you go. Says there's 2. Highlight this one. Just scroll over it. You'll notice it says 11. The next one says 10. The next one says it says 7 to 7.5, but really it's going to 8. That says there's 1, if you can kind of see it there. So you can move the outside edges, and it actually keeps the proper scale. Okay, I already kind of fit your picture. So for right now, we can kind of probably make it look like perfect. Okay. So let's do, kind of move this over here. All right, and I'm gonna do that 2 more times. I'm gonna do it for this next one. I'm gonna highlight this next column, insert, chart. Now, since they knew we did a histogram last time, they were like, hey, you probably want to do histogram again. So it's already set up for you. This one looks pretty good. However, you see the scale once again on the bottom, it says 0, 2.3, 4.6. It's a nice even scale. Well, the end might be kind of messed up. They always kind of mess up the end for some reason, but we want to make it easier numbers. Okay, so it's easier to copy down and to think about. Customize, histogram, bucket size. Once again, let's try 1 again. That's a lot of bars. Let's look at 2. Pretty good. Let's keep it at 2. I'm going to move that over again. Right below it. Make it look nice. That. Okay. And we'll do it one more time with this column here. Highlight all that. Insert. Start. Histogram. Let's customize it. Histogram. Okay. Now, once again, the auto size goes from 60 to 64, 64 to 68. That's actually not a bad scale. It's counting by 4s. So we can actually just keep that one. Okay. If it wasn't 4, though, we can make it 5. Make it 2. Well, actually, a good. What was the auto one again? It wasn't too bad. So let's take a look at 2, just to kind of, just for fun, just to kind of like about it a little bit more. That'll give us something to talk about. And here, shrink it. Okay, so now we have our 3 histograms. So each histogram is associated, right, with, that's column C, that's column D, that's column E. Now, the next thing we want to do is look at our statistics, okay? So look at things, let me get rid of a lot. Okay. Get rid of this part here, clean up our graphs and stuff. Now, over here it should, okay. If we did that, it would make the title a little bit different, but that's okay. I can go back and change it later if I wanted to. I'm going to look at a few things. Let's look at some things like the mean, standard deviation. Okay, those are pretty easy to get. So I'm going to kind of find some space. Let me zoom out a little bit. So see. Let's do it. That's pretty. Okay, so let's start by looking at the mean and standard deviation. So what I like to do is kind of, I'm going to have the numbers underneath it. Okay, I'm going to say the mean. Ooh. I'm going to go mean, standard deviation. I'm going to skip a little line here. Then I'm going to call this the 5 number summary. And then when the 5 number summary, that's where you're looking at the maximum, 3rd quartile, median, usually do Q3 and Q1, and the minimum. Okay. So if you think about what these are, like I've said before, this is just like a little title. That color, you can put up here and change the color so it kind of makes it stand out a little bit. Okay. But if you think about the minimum to the maximum, once again, if your quartiles, it's like the start of like a game, the end of a game, and like the end of the first quarter, the median is the end of the second quarter, the halftime. Q3 is like the end of the 3rd quarter, and then the maximum is like the 4th quarter. That's the way I kind of see it, okay? It's like 0, 4 out of 4. Like 0 out of 4, 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, which is your median. Okay, 3 out of 4. And then lastly, 4 out of 4. That's kind of what the 5 number summary is all about. And then last but not least, we're going to make it do the IQR. Enter quartile range. Okay, which is a reminder, just your 3rd quarter. And we're going to take away our 1st quarter. That's what that is. It's kind of like a little bonus thing on that to kind of save you some time later. Okay, find the mean. We're going to do something where we find the average. We're going to do what's called a function. Okay, all spreadsheets, a way to play with the data. So right now it's cool, the numbers are organized, but there's a lot of cool stuff we can do. And a lot of it starts by clicking on a blank cell and pushing the equal sign. Equal sign will start by doing some suggestions. Okay, but and if you don't want to think about stuff, a lot of times you can is you can look at insert function, and they'll have all the functions you can do. Look at this, so many functions you can do. I'm just going to show you the ones that we're going to need, and a lot of them match up perfectly with the words we're using in stats, right, with the vocab, okay? So mean, you don't have mean as a function, so you got to use the word average. So if you start typing average, you'll notice a bunch come up, and there's a lot of special ones you can do. We're just going to do average, and then a parentheses comes up, and we're going to, so what we're going to do here is it wants to know what numbers do you want to average. And an easy way you can do is to start from the top of your list, 6 for this case, all the way down to the bottom of the list, highlight it, and then let it go. At this point, you can either use a parentheses to close it or just push enter. It'll do it for you. I'm just going to push enter. Okay. And if I highlight it, and if I forgot what I did, look at this bar up here that's above all the numbers and stuff. This bar up here, it says fx, that's your function, equals average, parentheses, c2, colon, c25, and parentheses. This says you want to find the average of the cells c2 all the way to c25. That's those ones right here. And if you highlight it or click it, it'll show you what it's doing. It's pretty cool. Okay. And I've done it once. Watch this. There's a few things you can do. One way to do it is like all your other Google apps, right? Control C to copy. Look where you want to paste that. And if I paste that, look what it did. It pasted not the number, but the function. So if I look at the top bar again, it says D2 to D25, and it's finding the average. But they're pretty smart. I really like the way this Google Spreadsheets works. And then, like I said, there's actually another way you can do that. A lot of times, let's see if it works. You take the box, you see the little square at the bottom, take this, move it over, and it copied it over there. Okay. Pretty rad. Okay, and look at, double check it, E2, E25, E2 to E25. Perfect. Okay. So all you got to do is do these once, then you can just kind of copy them over. It's pretty rad. Standard deviation, okay. Now standard deviation special, it's STDEV for standard deviation. Now once again, there's a lot of different variations of that, populations and samples. We'll get into that later, but for now we'll just do the regular standard deviation, okay. And once again, the parentheses comes up. What numbers do you want to use? Highlight them, enter. I'm going to show you a cool shortcut again. Click that, do the box, and drag it 2 times over, and copy both of them. Okay. Now I don't like how it's got so many decimal places. So I want to shrink those down. And there's a cool way you can do that without having to mess with any numbers. If you look up here, once again, up this bar, kind of above the function bar, you'll see it's got money sign. You can change those to currency if you're dealing with currency and you want it to show like the dollar signs. If you're using percentages, it'll convert your numbers into percentages. But these arrows with the .0 stuff, this one decreases decimal places, so it like shrinks your numbers, okay? This one increases decimal places, so you get more decimal places. And this is just to change more formats and stuff. Let's take a look at decreasing the decimal places. Let's just do it to 3. That looks pretty good. And it'll automatically round for you, okay? And if you want to put them back out, you just do that. Pretty cool. Let's skip down here to our 5-number summary. Put it back. All right, so we have maximum, quartile 3, median, quartile 1, minimum, IQR. Maximum and minimum are pretty easy, and median, they're all pretty descriptive. So the function is equals max, easy. Same thing, highlight what we want. Read all numbers. Now I'm going to go through and just do all these, and then I can copy them all over at the same time. So let's skip quartile 3. We'll come back to the quartile 1 and 3 because they're similar. Let's do the median. It's just median. Enter. And the minimum. It's just min, M-I-N, kind of like max, M-A-X. The min, the minimum. And then the quartiles 1 and 3. So quartiles actually has a quartile thing, just it equals quartile. Q-U-A-R. I'm not quite sure what these ones are for special data sets and stuff. We're just going to do regular quartile. Highlight what you want. Now you notice it says NA. There's an error. Okay. So it says quartile, but it doesn't know what quartile to do. And there's a few ways you could figure it out. You could look at other websites and do things. It's just got a little question mark. Click on that and let's see what it says. Okay, so they give you an example and they tell you what it is. So it says data, that's the data, comma, quartile number. So for example, quartile 3 or comma 3 gives us quartile 3. Okay, that's useful, right? So after the data set, up here at this bar, we're going to hit comma and then put the number 3 for the third quartile, hit enter, and it found the third quartile for us. Okay, no more errors. So for this one, quartile 1, you're going to put a 1 equals quartile, parentheses, let's drag what we want, the comma, and then the number 1. You don't even got to put a space, just put 1 there. You can put the parentheses or not, it'll do it for you. It's really smart. Okay, so we have these numbers, and now there's the IQR. I'm going to show you a cool little trick. So I want quartile 3 minus quartile 1 equals, I'm going to click quartile 3, which is right here. Click that box. Subtract the quartile 1 box. Hit enter. It calculates the IQR for you. So from 5 to 6, it's just 1. Okay, those are the values I want. I'm going to drag this over and watch this. It's going to populate it, those other questions. Awesome. Now you notice this won't affect this at all. This is just using this data. Okay, but remember what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at things like I want to take a look at this. Now, if you see this right here, right, the center, the shape, the spread, it's important to know what the data looks like, and then when they want you to analyze the information, right, to discuss what the data looks like and what, you know, the center, shape, and spread. If the data, let's go back to this. So if you have, let's say, this first one, this is kind of this is like a unimodal, and it's sort of symmetric, right? It's almost the same on both sides. Where this one's skewed to the right, this one's kind of skewed to the right too. Well, if you look at this, so for the first one that had the unimodal and symmetric data, check with the center, you should use the mean. So we found that number already. For the other ones that were kind of skewed to the right, they say you should use the median to find that, right? So that's going to help us out. Over here. Once we start wanting to talk about it, we already have the numbers already done for us. We don't have to go then and redo it and create a bunch of extra work for ourselves. I think by setting it up first, it makes it so much easier to kind of go through. Okay. So one more time. After you have your numbers, okay, it's very useful to highlight what you're working with, particularly the title as well. Insert your chart, and then make sure you select histogram. Okay, and then it's advised to go through your settings and change your bucket size. Okay, that's your bin size. So from 4 to 4.99999, 5 to 5.999, so on and so forth. Okay, answers this questions, and then you do the same thing for this one. We change the size. For this one, okay, we change the size. And then I like to set it up down here. That way I know I don't forget to do any of the calculations. Okay, I don't forget anything. So that is how we work with that data. Okay, that is how you make a histogram. All right, so hopefully you guys learned something. Be sure to watch this video if you need to review, and I will talk to you guys as soon as you guys come back next week, right, on the 2nd. All right, in the 2nd, Tuesday. All right, bye guys.